What is up, everyone? Welcome to Heroes Avenue. My name is Derek, and today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about how DC dominated 2019 and how they will take over 2020. But before I get started, don't forget to subscribe if you guys haven't, like this video, and comment on anything you guys see in this video. If you guys agree with me, disagree with me, hate me, whatever, comment below, and hopefully we'll read it in our next Read in the Comments video. Alright, so and before I get started, I want to preface this that I am a fan of both Marvel and DC. I try to be unbiased as much as I can, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that Endgame to me was pretty much my favorite movie of the year. After that is Joker, and so I definitely feel like, with that, I definitely still feel like DC dominated this year. Alright, so let's talk about how do we define domination of let's define how a franchise could dominate a year, or how can they win a year. And I pretty much define it by how much the media talks about a particular franchise in a positive light. And so I feel like that's definitely DC all the way through. I mean, 2019 started with a wave of success from Aquaman, because Aquaman started or released in December 2018 and was killing it all the way in the beginning, all the way to January, February, March, and crossed $1 billion in January. And from the start of the year, people were still roaring about how great this movie is, how much this movie means to everybody, and how much this movie made $1 billion. The first DCEU movie to cross $1 billion, and that is nuts, right? So that in itself, and the fact that there was a lot of writing on this movie with James Wan directing it, and how crazy the idea of this movie is, being underwater. And it was a crazy place, because DC was in a rut with the failure of Justice League. I mean, if this movie bombed, DC wouldn't be where it is right now. And so the fact that it killed it is a huge win. And then you got Shazam, being critically acclaimed movie, not as much as Aquaman, but Shazam didn't make as much money as Aquaman. So even though it was critically acclaimed, it didn't make that much money. It only made $364 million, which is still a success, because they still made a profit. The movie was about $100 million in budget. So they still made 3 times their money back. And so that in itself is good, because again, this is a very unknown character. Not many people knew who Shazam was. No one knew, people outside of our world, right? The general audience didn't know who he was, what his origin is. In fact, they were able to bring that much profit back is incredible, and it's a success. And then you got Joker, right? Joker was talked about all the way up to even after it was released. People kept talking about this movie. And people were talking about how like it's very controversial. Like, do we even need this movie? And how people were scared to watch it. Even though that is kind of negative, it still brought a lot of hype and curiosity to the movie, which I feel like is a positive thing. And then when the movie came out, it killed it. It killed it in the box office. And Joaquin Phoenix's performances is something that a lot of people are talking about. And how he deserves an Oscar. And it's incredible. And people are saying like how this Joker should tie in with the Matt Reeves Batman. Even though Joker is outside of DCU, they still want, fans want that, or some people want to make that true. But I feel like Todd Phillips doesn't want to. But yeah, the fact that this is even outside of the DCU, and it's its own original movie, because Joker doesn't really have an origin. They made it their own, and the fact that they're able to do that is crazy, and they're able to tack on different themes in this movie, such as the mental illness, is crazy. And there's so much going on with this movie, a lot. And the fact that this movie is up for a couple Golden Globes awards. It's up for Best Picture, and Joaquin Phoenix is up for Best Actor, and that is crazy. If they win Best Picture, I don't know if I'm like 70%, 75% positive that they might win, or I feel like 75% chance they might win. But there's a lot of other great movies that came out this year, not just Joker. And the fact that the Academy, they look down on comic book movies, that they also have that against them. So a lot riding on them, but the fact they were able to make it to the Golden Globes is a huge milestone for comic book movies in general. And let's also talk about how DC is doing the TV, because of course we all know that DC has better TV shows than Marvel does, despite the Netflix shows. But DC has brought in their biggest crossover event with Crisis on Infinite Earths, a very well-known comic book event that happens, and it's very iconic, right? And there were other rumors in the past, like a long time ago, that they maybe DC might do that in the movies or not, or something, and they ended up doing it in the TV verse with CW, and I feel like it's their biggest crossover event in general. I feel like it's even bigger than Endgame. A lot of you guys might disagree on me on that, but I feel like it's bigger just because it's crossovering all these other characters from, I feel like, 5 different shows, and then you got characters from previous shows that are retired, and you're bringing them back as cameos for this crazy crossover event. I mean, you even got Tom Welling from Smallville. I never thought I would see that guy in any crossover event ever as Superman. And then you got the old Robin coming back, and then you got, I can't even think of it right now. There's just so many. And then you got Brandon Routh coming back as Superman, and you got the Titans characters from DC Universe, a lot of cameos. Oh, even Birds of Prey. You got Huntress from Birds of Prey from, I think, the early 2000s or late 90s TV show that got canceled. You got her to come into the show and do a cameo, which is nuts. And I'm sure there's way more that we're gonna see in episodes 4 and 5 in January. And this crossover event has been everyone's talking about this and how it's so big, and everyone's so excited to tune in. And even though the story lacks a lot, I feel like it's getting progressively better by each episode. Even though, of course, it's catered to teenagers, so there are some like corny, campy parts of the story. But I feel like it's still an okay crossover. I think it's still good. I think where it is now, 3rd episode was probably the best episode, and it gets me more excited to see 4 and 5 in January. But yeah, I think in general this is a good thing for comic book fans in general. Plus, don't get me started with the fact that we got Kingdom Come Batman and Superman on screen, with Kevin Conroy, who has been the voice actor of Batman for decades, playing Batman in the physical role as the Kingdom Come Batman. And then you got Brandon Routh playing the Kingdom Come Superman as the fact that he was even Superman in like 2009, coming back to play an older Superman based off Alex Ross is incredible. That's something that a lot of us were really surprised when it was first announced, and it's unbelievable that we got it, and the fact that we actually saw it and it was actually really good. And it's crazy. And then this year we even got season 2 Titans and Nightwing. We finally got the TV or screen debut of Nightwing, fully fledged out, physical form, black and blue suit, everything Nightwing on the screen, and it's incredible. We got Nightwing fighting Deathstroke. Oh my gosh. Guys, we live in a good time. If you guys are huge DC fans, this was a great year for you, because there's so much to look at, so much to watch, and it's so much to be excited about. And so everyone was talking about this, and then we got Superboy with Nightwing. Man, crazy times, and that's what I'm talking about. DC dominated 2019 throughout the entire year. These things were happening. And then you got in the media, you got our official announcement on who's gonna play Batman in the Matt Reeves movie with Robert Pattinson, right? That in itself blew everyone's minds, because of course everyone's thinking about Twilight. No one really watches indie movies, which I definitely recommend you should, especially Lighthouse if you guys haven't. And so I feel like ever since that announcement was made a couple months ago, people are starting to get on this bandwagon and are not hating him as much as they did with Ben Affleck. So I feel really bad for Ben Affleck, because he got so much unnecessary hate, especially with Argo. So, but yeah, Robert Pattinson is our new Batman, and when that announcement came out, people were just going crazy. People were excited, and people are super excited for this movie. The fact that it's gonna have multiple villains, taking elements from Long Halloween is as crazy as well. And then you got Matt Reeves' casting decisions, right? He's casting people not based off their looks, or he's not trying to mimic what the character looks like on the comic books with an actor. He is just trying to cast great actors in general. And that is different. That is something we haven't seen in quite a while. I mean, we've seen, you know, race bending with Michael B. Jordan and Human Torch. We've seen that before. But this is like with everyone. He doesn't care. He does not care what the character looked like in the comic books. He doesn't care. He just wants to make sure these actors who are playing the characters are up to par, or on a high level. And the Batman movie is very anticipated, and I feel like this is a great cast to be in. And so yeah, super hyped, and everyone just hyped about every announcement he makes. And then as well in the media, you got the release, the Snydercut, which has never been stronger than ever, right? Ever since November, everyone's been gung-ho with this movement, with celebrities vouching for this movement, and then you got Jason Momoa telling everyone that it's out and it's real and that he watched it. And then you got Zack Snyder again posting everything he can to get this movie out there. I mean, he even posted a film reel, or a picture of the movie, you know, telling people that it is out, and it's real, it does exist. And he also posted a picture of Henry Cavill, you know, in the black Superman suit, and then he posted a picture of Jason Momoa killing Steppenwolf. Dude, like, it's never been stronger than ever, and people are for it. People keep talking about DC, and people are like, we want to see the Zack Snyder cut. We want to see it. It's crazy. And you got Ryan Reynolds talking about release the Snyder cut. It's just incredible. Yeah, and then you got HBO Max that will come out next year, which is supposed to, or people are hoping to get the Snyder cut on there as well. And then you got the Green Lantern Corps or Green Lantern show announcement that happened this year, getting everyone hyped. Because we all know, you know, Green Lantern didn't get its justice it deserved in 2011 with Ryan Reynolds, and so hopefully with Green Lantern coming in at HBO Max, you know, later down the line, hopefully it changes the narrative of that character, because it is a good character. And so that's it for 2019. So all that happened in 2019. Everything was positive. Everyone is super gung-ho with DC, and I'm super happy that it is, because DC again was in a bad spot before 2019, and things are changing, and Marvel is being less active, because they're also changing their universe, right? They're kind of resetting ever since Endgame, because next year Marvel's only having one movie coming out next year with Black Widow, and they're only having one show, which is on the Disney Plus show, coming out the end of the year with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and so that's a lot of room for DC to just dominate the media. Of course, Marvel's gonna be all over the media as well. That's not to say they're gonna announce anything. They're not gonna announce anything. They will, but I feel like DC has so much. I feel like it gained so many people's trust with this year, and then with Aquaman as well. Especially if Wonder Woman and Birds of Prey are a success, people are gonna. I feel like the switch is gonna be made with all the naysayers. People are gonna be back on DC again. And win everyone's hearts back, right? Especially with the fact that Wonder Woman 1984's trailer was a smash, right? People loved it. People loved it more than Black Widow, from what I've seen on the internet. You guys probably may have seen differently, but people are super hyped for this movie. There was a leaked script, but I feel like this trailer is definitely doing better than what was on paper, because what I read, what I discovered on the internet. When I first read the leaked script, I felt like the synopsis was super corny, but seeing the trailer just got me hyped. And then you got Gal Gadot also rocking the Alex Ross Kingdom Come armor in the trailer, blowing everyone's minds out. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in as a fan, especially as a diehard DC fan. And with Birds of Prey coming out, a lot of people are a little hesitant to be excited. They don't know what to expect. But I feel like the hype is coming back with this movie. With the opening scene released in the CCXP, there was a lot of positive reactions from that opening scene, and then with the confirmation that Black Mask will actually wear a black mask in the movie, who is the villain, is also reassuring as well, right? And they're not gonna just miss the ball on that one. They're actually going to do it. So that, for me as a comic book fan, I feel a little bit more confident with this movie. And you know, every trailer and TV spot that comes out is getting me hyped, and I'm really curious on how this movie is going to unfold and how it's going to look on screen. The cinematography, I feel like it's going to be great. I feel like it's going to look good. And so yeah, I feel like as long as those movies come out and they are a smash hit, they could take over. You know, DC can take over 2020 again, especially with the lead up to the Batman. I mean, we're gonna get the trailer next year, guys. We're gonna get the Batman trailer in 2020. And that in itself is gonna be bonkers. It's gonna be so much for all of us. And then you got Black Adam, Shazam 2, and all that. It's gonna be nuts. So it's gonna be a good year 2020, I hope. But those are my thoughts on how DC dominated 2019 and how they will take over 2020. All right, so let me know in the comments below. Again, what do you guys think about all this? Do you guys agree with me, or do you guys disagree? And don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you guys again. Bye.